Hello there. So today I wanted to talk about my skincare routine. I wanted to do a video on my skincare routine because I have pretty finicky skin and it took me a really long time to figure out how to take care of it. So let me walk you through my specific skin concerns while I pull out my skin routine. So I have what I would call very sensitive, pretty oily, very dehydrated skin, or skin that tends towards being dehydrated. And what this kind of adds up to is my skin can become angry very easily. It's very easy for my skin to become dehydrated. It is then very difficult to rehydrate it without the proper products. And my skin is just sensitive to a lot of things that don't really bother a lot of people. The first and foremost being fragrance. That's probably the main thing for me. Although I do find that I can't really use things with actives or like real actives. Things even like niacinamide, I'm very sensitive to, so I have to watch how much of that I have in my routine. And even things like regular cleansers are typically too stripping for me. So I have to be really careful about what I choose to use on my skin. So I'll go through my skincare routine based on the order that I use them. So I'll start with cleansers going all the way to sunscreens. All right, so let's start with cleansers. Since this is probably one of the most important parts of my skincare routine and where I can really screw it up if I don't have the right product. So it took me a really long time to find a good cleanser that could cleanse my oily skin, but also wasn't super stripping. Because I think that was part of what made my younger skincare problems so bad is I was oily, but I was dehydrated, and no one really understood that. And all anyone could see was that I had really oily skin, so they would keep on offering me these really, really stripping cleansers that would actually end up making my face a whole lot more oily because my skin was reacting to how dehydrated it was. And the cleanser would, in fact, make my skin more dehydrated over time. So I think the first cleansing oil that I used was from DHC, and I've also used the one from Hada Labo, and I enjoy both of those. I find that the Hada Labo one is a little bit more on like the thin side, um, and it doesn't leave behind as much residue, whereas the DHC one is a little bit heavier and can leave behind a little bit of residue. I think they at least used to have a even heavier one. I don't know if they still offer that, and that one would leave a little bit more residue as well. This one from Eucerin is like I use this on both my face and body. I would say that the Hada Labo one I actually prefer. However, I can get this very cheaply, and since I use it for both my face and body, this is just more cost effective. I also like that this helps prevent itchiness. This not only helps cleanse my skin and do so well without stripping it, it also helps prevent my skin from getting itchy if there's something else in my routine or in my environment that sensitizes my skin. So I really like this. This is a really, really good option. The only thing I don't like about this is I don't like the packaging that it comes in. There is a reason that the Hada Labo and DHC cleansers come in like the pump format. Like this is the same sort of texture. Here, I'll show you. It's like it's like a very watery kind of oil. So if you have something in this kind of packaging and you try to pour it out, I mean, one, it like gets everywhere. Like it'll come off the side of this and you'll lose a bunch. But you'll also end up like pouring out more than you need. So I like this overall as a product, but I really think that they need to do better packaging. And I don't know why it's so hard for Western brands to do that because Cerave has a very similar product and they have the same kind of packaging as Eucerin. And I really think they would do well to change up the packaging. But otherwise, I love the product. Now, The one thing with this is it doesn't get off makeup as well as I would like. And so I've been looking to get a cleanser balm that can take off makeup more easily. And I have quite a lineup here, as you can see. And there is one other cleansing balm that I want to try from Beauty of Joseon, if that's how you pronounce it. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. And I'm even debating getting the one from Beauty of Joseon because I don't really like any of these for different reasons. The Vanilla Zero Clean It, Vanilla Co. The Banila Co. Balm, I like the texture. Overall, I like this product and I would highly recommend this product. My only issue with this is my skin is sensitized to this fragrance. If I use this more than once a week, my skin will start getting angry, as in, like, it'll start being red, it'll start getting bumpy, and that's just my skin reacting to it. If you don't have a fragrance sensitivity or allergy, I would 100% recommend this over these and any other cleansing balms that I've tried. This is really good, and you can get it for a really good price at Ulta whenever it goes on sale. Now, next in line after this, I would actually recommend the e.l.f. one. My problem with it is the same. It has fragrance, and my skin is sensitized to that fragrance. So I have to be really careful about using this more than once a week. But the texture is really nice. I still think that the Vanilla Co. one has a better texture to it. And if you get the vanilla one on sale, I want to say that it's probably around, it ends up being around the same price as the e.l.f. one. I haven't calculated that out, so that might be wrong. But I think if you can get this one on sale, it's comparable price-wise to the e.l.f. one. But the e.l.f. one's pretty good. I still like the texture. I don't think that it gets makeup off quite as well as the vanilla one, but it's a pretty close call. And overall, I would still recommend this. So it's good. I can't really use these because they have fragrance in them. Now I had high hopes for the Cerave and the Clinique ones because these are fragrance free. And I figured, oh, well, if I like the vanilla one, maybe one of these two will be similar enough that I will like it and I can just use those. I don't like either one of these. Let's start with the Cerave because I tend to like Cerave products, and let me tell you, I do not like this product at all. I cannot recommend it. I would never recommend this to anyone. I don't know how this is as drying and stripping to my skin as it is, but it really is. So the first time I tried this, the next day after I had used this and done like my regular routine without any new products or anything, my skin was so dehydrated. I had not seen my skin that red, that oily, that just inflamed looking, probably since I was in high school. And that was a long time ago. This did something to dehydrate my skin that I have not experienced in a very long time. And at first I thought it was just a fluke that maybe I had done something or maybe, it was a change of seasons or something else happening. But every time I have used this, my skin has felt very dehydrated the next day. And it takes me a few days to recover from it. So I'm not entirely sure why that is. I don't really think that there's a big difference in ingredients with this one compared to the others. But yeah, I don't like this. And I'm really disappointed in the Cerave product. I had high hopes for it. And I'm not looking forward to finishing this up. So the Clinique one I don't dislike, but I also don't like. There's just something about the texture of this that I don't love. It's not as light as the Banila Co. one. It's a little bit more greasy. It leaves a little bit more behind. It doesn't really clean makeup off as well, which is the main reason for me using a cleansing balm. If I'm just doing a regular cleansing of my face and it doesn't have makeup on it, I'm just going to use the Eucerin. So I was kind of surprised because I thought that this would be more of like a premier product, and I didn't like it. This I also felt was a little bit drying, not nearly as much as the CeraVe one, but honestly, whenever I use the vanilla one, my skin it doesn't feel stripped. Like I don't think like this doesn't do anything to like hydrate or moisturize my skin, but it doesn't strip it, you know? Like there have been a few times where I have just taken my makeup off with this and I wipe off the product, and I don't even do like a proper cleanse. Like I don't use water to cleanse this off. And my skin feels fine. I could never do that with this. My skin would feel stripped if I did that with this. So unfortunately, I don't really like any of these cleansing balms. None of them really work for me. The one that I like has fragrance in it, and that makes it a no-go for me. The two that I've tried with no fragrance in it, just they're stripping for some reason, and it's really weird. So I can't recommend these. So I would not really consider these in my routine. And for now, at least, this is what's going to be remaining in my routine for a cleanser. All right, so next I'm putting toners and essences and serums together. I kind of consider these all of the same group, even though there's definitely different consistencies. And I have these mostly from more watery to less watery. And in general, I do prefer the more watery formulations. But I do have a couple in here that I really like that are very thick serums, in my opinion. But let's start with my favorite. So this is the Hada Labo Shirojyun Premium Toner. Basically, this is the one from the Shirojyun line in the dark blue bottle. And this is basically a holy grail item for me. I cannot do a skincare routine without this. And I know that sounds very, a little bit over the top, but this is a really important product for me. This is how I rehydrate my skin whenever it feels a little bit dehydrated. And this does wonders to calm my skin down. So I forget what is in this. And of course, I can't read any of that. But there is something in this, it might be tranexamic acid, that helps calm down the skin. And that helps me a lot with all the redness that I have. And in addition, whatever formulation that this has really soaks into my skin really well. I find that things with a thicker consistency don't get through my skin barrier very easily, and therefore don't really hydrate my skin. And I think that's part of the reason why I really like the more watery formulations, is because if it's not watery, it just tends to sit on top of my skin. And this, because it's so watery, tends to soak into my skin a lot more easily. And so this really goes and hydrates my skin. I do have to be careful to put a very occlusive layer on top of this, but as far as a purely hydrating step, this is really, really good. And I've tried a lot of other toners. I've tried other toners from Hada Labo. I've tried the other Shirojyun line. I think it's in the light blue bottle. Didn't like that nearly as much. I also tried there's one that's really popular. Whatever one's in the gold bottle. At least I think it's a gold bottle. And I want to say it has like a number of different types of hyaluronic acid, and that one, it was too thick. I didn't like how thick it was, but even if I thinned it out, it was just, for some reason, it was too much for my skin. It didn't hydrate it, and I found that after a while it would actually break out my skin, but this one is really good. And there was a time when I was sort of like trialing a lot of different toners, either from Hada Labo, DHC, and really anything else that I could get my hands on. And I always come back to this one. So at this point, I don't really plan on doing any other trials. I mean, I say that, but I do enjoy trialing out toners. Toners I love, but with any routine that I have, this is going to be in there. And if I do decide to try out another toner, it will be in conjunction with this one. Which brings me to my next product. And I only have one here, but I'm going to talk about both the Missha Time Revolution Artemisia essence and also the regular Time Revolution. I think it's called like the first treatment or something like that. I got these after doing a lot of research on ferments, because I did fall, like it's not in here, but I did fall in love with the SK2 essence. It's a really great product, but it is incredibly expensive and I'm not going to pay that price. At least not where I am right now. I'm not going to pay that price. And there was a lot of people who really liked the first treatment from Missha as well as this one. I don't think either one of them are bad products, but they didn't really do anything for me. I didn't really notice any difference between when I used them and when I didn't. And if I tried to replace the Hada Labo Premium with either one of the Time Revolution toners, my skin didn't like that. So this does not give the same amount of hydration to my skin as the Hada Labo, and this also doesn't give sort of like that brightening effect and just overall healthy feel and glow that I get from the SK2. So I'm going to use this up. I've already used up the first treatment essence, and I don't really plan on rebuying them. They're not bad products, but I didn't find that they did anything for me. All right, so now we're getting more into my serum-y type things. So let's go with this one. And this one, honestly, I'm just using this up. I had another one from Beauty Bay, and I want to say it was like the Calming Essence one. I didn't like it either. They're kind of like the Missha Essence treatments, whatever they're called. It didn't do anything bad for my skin, but it also didn't do anything positive for my skin. So I can't recommend these. I didn't find that they did very much, but they also didn't do anything negative for me. So there's that. Now these two. One of my friends gave me both of these. This one, she gave me not this bottle, but a different bottle, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I don't really remember. And I have since gone through many of these. So this is the Isntree by Fida ampule. This is basically their ferment. I don't think they have any other ferment products, but I could be totally wrong. I originally was not drawn to this at all because this has a much thicker consistency. Like, it's not watery like the Missha. It has a little bit more body to it. But when you start to put it on your skin, it does sink into my skin a lot more easily than a lot of the thicker toners or serums that I've tried to use. So I really like it. It has a nice texture to it, and it works really well when I put it on my skin that's already been hydrated by a toner, or even if I put it over water, it tends to do okay. But most of my products really need to go over the Hada Labo for me to be happy with the result. And I find that with this, I get almost the same amount of like healthiness and good feel and glow that I get from the SK2. So this is kind of my replacement, if you can call it that, for the SK2 toner that I refuse to pay $200 for. And I'm pretty happy with it. And I've gone through, gosh, at least 4 bottles so far, probably more than that. But I really like this, and I will be keeping this in my routine. So this one came from the same friend, but more recently. I think she brought this back with her from Korea, although I'm entirely sure I could buy this on Yes Style or Stylevana. And it's the same sort of thing as the Isntree by Fida ampule. It's a little bit more thick than I would generally pick out for myself, but it spreads out really nicely, and as long as the skin underneath has already been hydrated, it sinks down really nice. Now, I do notice that this helps my skin calm down a little bit more, and I do notice when I don't use this, my skin feels like just a tad different. And I haven't been able to put my finger on exactly what, but I've enjoyed using this. I don't really know if I want to have both of these in my routine. I like having a much smaller routine than I have right now, but I'm definitely going to be keeping this one. I'm going to be keeping this one for now as well. So what my routine really should look like once I use up my products that I don't really want and I'm trying to use up, it's going to be these three. These three together do a really good job of hydrating my skin, of making sure that it like maintains that hydration, and it also does whatever it is that ferments do that help my skin keep a really nice, healthy, glowy appearance. All right, so next we have moisturizers. And I do currently have the DHC astaxanthin. I don't really know if that's how you pronounce it. I do have that one. I'm kind of using it up. It's a nice moisturizer, but it's not something that I would choose to use as my daily moisturizer. It's probably the best gel cream that I've come across. It is, unlike most gel creams, it has like a creaminess to it rather than it just being a thick gel. And I really like that. It has a really nice texture. It has, like, it's not fragranced or anything, but it just has a nice creamy smell to it that I really like. And it has a really nice balance of like emolliency and hydration. My only issue with it is it just isn't as occlusive as I would like for my skin. So I find myself whenever I use this, I have to use something else on top of it. And I'm not going to pay $50 or however much this is for a moisturizer that I then need to put something else on top of. So I don't mind using this up, but I'm not going to continue using this. Like, I'm not going to buy this. I'm pretty sure I got this as like a buy one, get one free deal of some sort. So it's a good product. And maybe you would like it if you don't need like a really occlusive product. Like, I think I would have liked this a lot when I was younger, honestly, when occlusive products actually like almost burned my skin because my skin was so dehydrated and has so many things wrong with it. I think I actually would have liked this a whole lot better. At the same time, I would not have been able to put any of these three on my skin. So if you find yourself in that boat where your skin is really dehydrated, really sensitized, and you are starting to use a much gentler cleanser, you're starting to use a good hydrating toner, this might be something that would be really good to pair it with if you're willing to spend this much money on a moisturizer. But yeah, I'm not going to be repurchasing this. Instead, I will continue to use my other holy grail item. So this is the Cerave Skin Renewing Night Cream. And I have loved this since I first tried it. Although when I first tried it directly after using, I forget what the other one is called, but it's the Cerave moisturizer in the pump that has a really high percentage of niacinamide. When I first tried out this product and that moisturizer, I didn't realize that I was pretty sensitive to niacinamide. So the first moisturizer made me break out and I wasn't sure why. And then I tried this one, and I think even though this had a much smaller amount of niacinamide in it, my skin was still very sensitized to niacinamide at that time. So I ended up I ended up buying a bunch of other moisturizers from Eucerin, from DHC, from Hada Labo, maybe some others that I can't remember. And I kept on looking for this texture. I really like this texture because it's occlusive, but it lets your skin breathe. Like, I don't know how to explain it very well, but it's very thick and it's very occlusive, but it doesn't make it so that your skin feels like it's being suffocated. It's just the nicest texture, and I've never really found it replicated by anything else. Like, it almost has a silicone feel to it, but it's just really, really occlusive, but also really, really breathable, and it does a great job of locking in all of my hydrating products. And I really like this. I really enjoy this. And I brought these two. These I tend to use on my body, but sometimes I will also use them on my face. Sometimes I am out of this and I just use the CeraVe moisturizing cream. It it doesn't have as good of a texture to me. It's a little bit less, it has a little bit less of that like siliconiness that gives it that really nice smoothness. But out of all of the moisturizers and creams and everything I've tried, it actually has the most similar texture to the CeraVe Skin Renewing Night Cream. It's just not as, maybe it's just not as thick. Maybe this goes on more thinly. I actually don't know how to describe why it's so different. but it just doesn't feel quite as luxurious, quite as nice. But it is also very occlusive, which is why I use it on my body, because the rest of my body has similar skin issues to my face, where I can get very dehydrated and have angry, oily skin if I don't keep my skin hydrated. So this does a really good job of locking in the moisture into my body after a bath. I think the big thing to remember if you do choose to use this is you need to put this on wet skin. I would not put this on dry skin. This doesn't have a lot of hydrating elements to it. So if you put this on dry skin, your skin's still going to feel dehydrated and dry. This isn't going to change that. This is just going to help lock in moisture that's already in your skin. So I like that. And then we have the healing ointment. I mostly use this as like a lip treatment, sometimes as like a hand treatment or a foot treatment. But this is very, very, very occlusive. Like if my skin is really dehydrated and I need to hydrate it fast and it isn't otherwise being angry, basically I'll put in a lot of hydrating products and then I'll kind of slather this over my face as thinly as I can. But this is very, very occlusive. This is something that is occlusive enough that it kind of makes it so my skin feels like it's suffocating a little bit. So I don't use this on my skin that often, unless I'm just using it on my hands or my feet. They seem to like this. But for the rest of my body, this is a little bit too heavy. So as far as like my permanent routine goes, I will definitely be keeping these three. But once the DHC astaxanthin is gone, I will not be repurchasing it. So these are my moisturizers. All right, so last but not least, we have sunscreens. And this was an area that was really hard for me to find products that I liked for a really long time. I don't tend to like the more usual US sunscreens that are very oily and just very thick and it gets sticky and everything. I can't stand those on my skin. And those will actually make my skin break out. So I refuse to use them. And I think that this was the first sunscreen that I tried that I liked, and it is still my favorite. This is the Hada Labo UV White Gel Sunscreen or something like that. This is a really beautiful, nice feeling formula. This is something that I can put on my face, and it kind of feels like a hydrating product and a moisturizing product all in one. And if I'm getting ready in the morning, most of the time, this is what I put on. I don't generally put on a moisturizer, or not a moisturizer. I don't generally put on a toner underneath this because I don't feel like I need it most of the time. If my skin's feeling really dehydrated, I'll probably use a different combo of products, but this is something that's a really nice one and done in the morning. And it just feels really nice. This is something that I enjoy using, and I probably would use this as a morning moisturizer, even if it wasn't sunscreen. So the fact that it is a sunscreen is just phenomenal. So this one from Isntree, I don't like as much as the Hada Labo one. This is the one that I tend to use if I'm having a more dehydrated feeling morning. And what I'll do is I'll put on a little bit of the Hada Labo and then put this on top, simply because this one is a little bit more occlusive. It still has a really nice texture and it just blends in with the skin really nicely. Although I guess my skin has like so much moisturizer and stuff on it right now, so I don't know if that demonstration is very helpful. But these both have really nice textures to them. And if you're someone like me who just cannot stand oily sunscreens, really recommend these. They're really nice. Now this one. So I have this one. This is the e.l.f. dupe for the Supergoop sunscreen. I still have my Supergoop sunscreen. I also have the Kroger version and the Trader Joe's version. And at some point I will do a comparison of all of those. But for me, I mean, for me, the Supergoop one is still the best, but I like the price point of this one much better, and this one is almost as good for me. Like it is maybe in some ways better, but the price point is absolutely unbeatable. I think this is like $15 or less. I forget exactly how much it is, and then you can get it on sale. Supergoop one is like at least 2 to 3 times more expensive than this. And for me, this is a really nice texture. And getting near to the bottom of this, I have a little bit. There we go. So this has a really nice texture to it. If you're a fan of silicone primers, this is a really nice product. And what I like is that I can put this over my skin routine, and it basically works as like a, not a mattifying primer, but it takes like the more extreme shine away and just softly mattifies it a little bit. Just gives it a nice little juiciness rather than greasiness. And I kind of need that for my skin. So I kind of use this as a primer to seal everything in. And it's really nice that it's also a sunscreen. So I'm basically doing like a layer of either one of these and then a layer of this on top. I do not mix them. I layer them. I wait for these to dry before I put this on top. And I think it leaves a really nice, really beautiful sheen. And it works with my oily skin really well. Now, if you don't have oily skin, this is not the dupe that I would recommend to you. One of the reasons that I say that Supergoop is still the best of all of the different options is I think that it's better across different skin types, whereas the different dupes definitely have skin types that they're geared to. To me, the e.l.f. one is geared towards oily skin types. If you have dry skin, I don't know, but I could see you not liking this. I could see you thinking that this is a little bit too drying, a little bit too mattifying, not having that nice hydration that Supergoop kind of gives you. It doesn't quite have like that melting effect that Supergoop does. This one really feels more like a silicone primer. I like that though. If you're someone who has drier skin, I think you might actually like the Trader Joe's option better. My only issue with Trader Joe's is it doesn't give me that slight mattifying primary effect. But it's a really good sunscreen. And we have that around too. My husband uses that. That's the only sunscreen I can get him to wear. So that's what he wears. And then the Kroger one, I honestly can't recommend that to anyone. It's so greasy. Maybe if you have really, really, really dry skin and you like putting straight up oil on your skin, you might like that one. But I don't like it. But these are my sunscreens. I love all of these and I will continue to get these. I don't have one right now, but I do also like the Can Make Mermaid sunscreen. That one's also really nice. And it leaves a really, really nice finish. That's one thing about the Can Make. I don't find it as like hydrating as these two, but it's still nice. I get it every once in a while. So let me put together my whole actual routine and then I'll show you like a separate picture together of all of the things that I'm kind of including here, but I'm kind of just using up. All right, so this is overall my skincare routine. This is what I've put together to work with my really sensitive, oily, dehydrated skin. It works really hard to not strip my skin too much, to add hydration back in and keep it in, and also create an inclusive layer over everything underneath it to keep all the moisture in so that it does not leave. And then, of course, some sunscreens that don't make my skin angry. And then let me show you all the things that I don't plan on keeping. All right, so these are all the products that I'm currently using, but I won't be repurchasing, and I maybe might not be able to recommend. And I wanted to show these separately because even though I'm using these right now, I don't want it to seem like these are part of my chosen routine, and these are more things that I'm using up or was trialing and they did not work out. So if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for sticking around. I really appreciate it. And I really hope that this video was helpful to you in some way, especially if you also have issues with sensitive skin, really oily, dehydrated skin, or anything similar. I know what it's like to have really difficult skin, so I'm absolutely happy to answer any questions that you might have. All right, so that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye for now.